Okay, here's my final playbook. So I tweaked the camera settings some more. I moved around some of these rocks. I made them a little bit bigger, smaller. I've added these two on the foreground. I moved them a bit. I deleted some more of our scatter rocks that we don't see, and I added back some other ones that we do see now since our camera angle changed a bit. So because our camera angle changed a bit, I also changed the direction of our environment light to be off camera, so it's coming from the right. Another thing to keep in mind is when I change the direction of my environment light, the image-based lighting changed, so my grains didn't match up with the ground plane anymore, as you can see here. So I just had to spend a couple more minutes to fix that. And now it's all good again. But just so you know, if you change the lighting, make sure you keep an eye on your grain color. I think that's about it. I chose this camera angle because I really liked how it looked at the end. So here we really have all the sand coming towards us. We have the rock almost hitting us in the face. So that's what I really liked. So let's take a look. I also added a small camera movement. So when the ship emerges, the camera kind of pans to the left a little bit to look what's going on. Yeah, so I'm really happy with the result. And now we can get ready for our final render. So let's go to our object level and let's get some stuff ready. So let's go to our ship geo and go to render. And under sampling, set this to velocity blur because we want to add some motion blur in our renders. So we do this for our ship, we do this for our rocks. On the render, sampling, velocity blur. And we also do this for our grains. Sampling, velocity blur. So when we look at our playbook, the only things that are really moving fast are the rocks, the grains, and the ship. Oops. The ground plane and the other assets aren't moving, and the camera is not moving that quick either. So I'm not gonna enable the motion blur on our ground plane and our Megascan assets because I can save some render time with this. So I'm only using it on the fast moving objects. And we aren't really gonna notice that there's no motion blur on the other things. I mean, if you have the time, turn it on, but let's do this without for now. So make sure you check your P-scale one more time on the render grains before you render this out. And we got the rest sorted out. We got our camera settings right. We got HD 1920 by 1080. We got our velocity blurs. So yeah, let's go to our out. And on our mantra node here, let's make sure this is set to our camera 1. We don't want to override the camera resolution anymore. Make sure this is on physically based rendering, and we'll say allow motion blur. And because we have, we're rendering grains, we want to increase the pixel samples a bit. So we'll do 6. Okay, these are all fine. Let's leave them at default. But in our limits, let's make diffuse limit 1. So we have some light bouncing around. And yeah, this should be fine. Let's go to images and let's rename this. We're gonna call this $job/images. And this is a folder we created in our project folder, in our $job. And then we'll say $hip name. The project name will say .v1 $f4 f4.exr. Okay, so that's set. Okay, so let's look at our frame range. We're gonna say render frame range, and then we're gonna do frame 80 to frame 270, or at least that's what I'm going to do, and that's also what I've set my timeline to, as you can see here. So that's good. Maybe we can do one test render. So before we do this, let's just say current frame. So it's gonna render frame 175, and we'll say render to disk. Okay, and inside the render scheduler in here, you can check the progress on this. So once this finished, you will also see it here, and you can keep tabs on it. Okay, so I imported our test file here in the image section under composite view, and everything is looking good. We have our motion blurs, our grains match up, so everything is fine. There's one thing I'm going to change, and that is that I'm going to reduce the amount of motion blur, because these grains falling here are too stripy or too streaky for me. So that's the only thing we'll do. We'll go to object level, go to camera, we'll change the shutter time from 0.5 to 0.25 or 25. So this is basically going to give us a 90-degree angle instead of a 180-degree shutter. Okay. So we're done here. We can go back to our mantra node. And all we have to do is select our frame range from 80 to 270. Okay, I'll see you later.